Hello guys, it's quite obvious that the failure of Putin's blitzkrieg in 2022 led to the continuous failure of the Russian Federation. And today Russia is very different from what it was in 22, losing more and more control over different territories that the Kremlin always considered friendly or its colonies. Let's be realistic. First, it happened to Syria with an extremely quick collapse of Bashar Assad's regime and Putin's inability to save the colleague. Right now, we observe surprised faces of Putin's friends in Iran, whom he promised all the support as a part of their military and partnership agreement signed just months before the start of Israel-Iran war. Very interesting things are happening in Transnistria, which is a part of Moldova artificially created and turned into a quasi-republic by the Kremlin too in the 90s. And Armenia, a country that boasted good relations with Russia, now wants its European future. Putin is losing friends, partners, colleagues. Right now, it's just Donald Trump who is excited to cooperate with him. More and more, even evil authoritarian presidents and prime ministers see this weakness of Russia, its total dependence on China, and stop thinking about Putin seriously. So let's discuss about this failing imperial project of Russia while Russia itself is turning into the colony of China. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel soon. So let's start with these faraway lands that do not get the support from Russia that they expected, and we will finish with the ones that are closer or were unlucky enough to be a part of the Soviet Union. Syria was a sign of Putin's weakness. For a very long period, Bashar Assad was one of Putin's best friends. He supported him and Putin expressed his love and admiration. But when Assad got problems, Putin did not back him up. And it's not just about this friendship that, of course, does not exist between predators, but about Russia losing a lot of its weapons and, most importantly, access to military bases in the Mediterranean. And yes, that was a tremendous humiliation to Putin in the Middle East. Then he signed an agreement with the so-called leaders of Iran about their mutually beneficial cooperation, partnership, and military support. Here in Ukraine, we definitely felt what this partnership meant because thousands of drones that Russia targeted on the Ukrainian civilian infrastructure were produced or designed by Iran. You all know Shahed drones are the products of this evil country. But when Putin's Iranian friends need help, Putin does not do anything. That is a typical Russian behavior. Even with these similar regimes, they constantly choose betrayal over promises. And that is another proof that any agreement signed with Russia is not worth the paper on which it was signed. Trust me, I'm Ukrainian, I know our history, and we know the mentality of Russia. That is what Zelensky keeps repeating in every interview. And I totally agree with him. Of course, any Ukrainian knows more about the Russian attitudes, the Russian mentality, in comparison even to the best American or French experts. Trust us. Subscribe and share these videos. It's important to inform more people about the things that right now greatly influence the future of this world. Transnistria is the territory that is a legal, internationally recognized part of Moldova, a country that borders Ukraine. But back in 90s, the Kremlin decided to create one of its first quasi-republics, something similar that they artificially created Donetsk-Luhansk regions. In Transnistria, they brought Russian troops, they brought lots of Russian people and Russian propaganda to distort life in Moldova. And right now, these Transnistria experience tremendous economic problems and literally no gas. There is no production, they have like less than 50% of their typical income, and they speak about this extra status. They don't know what to do. And of course, Russia may use this crisis to spoil parliamentary elections in Moldova, but that is also a vivid symptom. They are running out of money and influence to back up these totally artificial quasi-republics. And I'm sure we will see the similar collapse of these fake structures in the east of Ukraine. Because true victory will only come with the liberation of Donetsk, Luhansk regions, and of course, Crimea. Another sign of weakness comes from Armenia, that does not want to listen to Putin's advice anymore. We have seen already in the course of the Russian-Ukrainian war, a war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and we may say that both countries were betrayed by Russia, were played by Russia, and they learn on their mistakes. And the Prime Minister of Armenia, that previously visited a lot of Putin's parades, demonstrated some support to the Kremlin goblin, now declares that he wants to join the European Union with the country in some distant future. It does not look very realistic in the years to come, but that's a tremendous shift from the orbit of the Kremlin. What makes it more interesting, just a couple of days ago, one of the Armenian businessmen, but a classical oligarch, and we all know that all oligarchs are Russian. It doesn't matter what citizenship they have, it doesn't matter what nationality they have, they belong to Russia. Russia is the mother of corruption, and Russia is the mother of oligarchs. All the oligarchs that once wanted to take over Ukraine were also Russia-made, Russia-dependent, and were protecting Russian business interests, or should I say mafia interests, in Ukraine. So that Armenian businessman, whose name I did not bother to remember, said that Armenia need to change Pashinyan, no good, and so on, and Pashinyan, the leader of Armenia, arrested him, the pro-Kremlin businessman in Armenia, demonstrating that Kremlin does not have a word anymore in this country. And that is beautiful. We observe a lot of such tendencies in East Asia, where Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan sometimes demonstrate support to Russia, but more and more often demonstrate disrespect and distance towards the Kremlin. And these are very positive tendencies because they show that this monstrous fake image of the strong Russian Federation with literally imperial influences on the former Soviet republics, on other countries, is totally fake. And what we see right now is a big, miserable, empty colony of China instead of a strong Russian empire. More and more Russian territories to the east are under control of China. Chinese people are coming to live there. Chinese books start naming Russian cities like Khabarovsk in the Chinese way because previously they did belong to China. And we all know, maybe Donald Trump doesn't, but we all know that Russia is only able to fight this war that failed to be a blitzkrieg because China gives them money and weapons, and North Korea and Iran. But somehow, all the countries and all the people that support the Kremlin have bad karma. Have a look at Syria, have a look at Iran, and advise Donald Trump not to repeat this fate. I'm not joking here. I do believe that making friends with Putin forever spoils your future. And that is why we stand firm against this evil, and I'm very grateful that we have our community that also stands united against the evil. Thank you so much for that, people, and thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, helping me film and write more. And that's why I have another channel, Anna Danilchuk, which I connect here. You can subscribe and watch weekly videos about what is life in times of the big war from an ordinary Ukrainian perspective. Follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and join our Discord community. Check the merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters. But most importantly, thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!